Alright guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man Jay Will. So it's time to talk about the Redmi Note 5, the AI camera phone. AI is something that all these cameras are claiming to give us, but does it really work? Now, this is just my 72 hours impressions of using this phone. And I gotta tell you, I have not charged this phone in the 72 hours of using this phone. I still have about 12% left with almost 5 hours of screen on time, and this is day 3. So this phone packs a 4,000 milliamp hour battery inside, and this is to be expected depending on your usage. I feel like with a phone like this, and this is how thin this phone is, I can get it in view there. Super thin phone with a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. Premium hardware in my opinion. You've got the plastic on the top and the bottom there, but you do have the metal chassis and metal frame pretty much. This has a 5.99 inch display on the front, which is 1080p, and that is actually really good. But let's get back to this battery. I was able to grab this phone, charge it to 100, and I'm still on the same. Now I am at about 12% right now, but still, this is day 3, and that's really impressive battery. Most of my Xiaomi phones have really good battery life, and I think that other OEMs should take note of this, and they need to start giving us great battery life like Xiaomi by just putting a bigger battery in their phones and giving us a little bit more better optimization. This phone does have Android 8.1.0 out of the box, and that may be a reason why it's running so well. Coupled with that battery is a 636 Snapdragon processor. Now, this was my first experience with the Snapdragon 636 because you guys know how I feel about the Snapdragon 625. I think it's probably the best, one of the best processors from Snapdragon or Qualcomm that they've produced. It's very, very, very efficient on battery. Performance is definitely good enough for every consumer, and it's just a matter of how well it's put together depending on the device. Now, I feel like Xiaomi does one of the better jobs with Snapdragon processors and putting together a good combination. A 4,000 milliamp hour battery with a Snapdragon 636 is a good combination with the 1080p display. Now, the display is beautiful. It's a 5.99 inch display. I've really enjoyed watching content on it, movies, media, things like that, YouTube. I try to do all these things like Netflix, predominantly YouTube. But with this being a 1080p display, I'm capped at 60 frames per second resolution. But on this display, 1080p at 60 FPS is actually really nice. No complaints at all. No any kind of issues with the display at all. No, nothing. It's solid. I don't know what else to say about the display. There's nothing bad about it. I mean, it is 1080p, and it's well worth it at this point with this 18:9 ratio. I think it looks really, really nice. I did a bunch of tests with the cameras, and I've posted those online. The cameras don't record in 4K, even though it's capable of recording in 4K with the Snapdragon 636. I find that very strange that they didn't enable this feature. As far as the AI functionality of it, I didn't really see any difference in quality in photos compared to other cameras that I have in AI. Like on my Zenfone 5, I can really see the difference in the photos because obviously that camera has a better, higher resolution camera, some better sensors, so it's probably going to perform a little bit better than this camera. But overall, the cameras are great on this phone. I just didn't see the hype that Xiaomi put behind the AI portion of it. But the cameras record very nicely for what they are. The 1080p is superb in my opinion. The front-facing video and footage are great. Overall, though, it's not going to get a perfect 10. There's a couple of things that I want to point out so far in my usage. Not my favorite. So I like Type-C now because I have a lot of phones that are Type-C. So I'm really hoping that there's another version of this phone that can release with Type-C, or Xiaomi decides to move to Type-C. It's not very difficult at this point. Even though this phone is 200 bucks, it's still not difficult to produce a phone like this with Type-C because other manufacturers with phones that cost less are using Type-C. And Xiaomi has other phones that cost less that are using Type-C. So that's another thing that I had to point out to you. As far as the speaker volume goes, at about 80% or higher, you'll get the true quality of the speaker. It's not really distorted or anything at the higher volume, but the volume isn't very loud because it has a single speaker, and it's just this bottom firing speaker right here. So nonetheless, though, the overall experience of the phone as a daily driver has been super easy. I mean, just because of what it is, this seems to be the trend of smartphones today. And this is something that I think we're going to continue to see more and more and more. So so far, 72 hours with the Xiaomi Redmi Note 5 is absolutely great. I'm really impressed with the battery. Now you might be saying, Jay, you only got 5 hours of screen on time, but I'm still in the same. I'm getting ready to charge it after this video, but that's great battery life. 3 days and then 5 hours of screen on time. Imagine if I were to just sit down for a full day and just watch content. I probably can get well up to 10 hours or more out of this battery with a full day's usage. So there you have it, folks. 72 hours with the Redmi Note 5. Very impressive and totally worth the money at this point. So, let me address the LTE thing, US. This does work with LTE in the US. I have the global version, so make sure you hit the link in the description of this video if you want to get the exact model that I have, because it does have all the bands for the US. Now on GearBest, they don't seem to list the bands. They just put global version and they put a different set of bands, but I've learned in my testing that the phone gets LTE for the US. It works with Cricket, T-Mobile, Simple, all the GSM. It doesn't work with Verizon or Sprint or Boost or Virgin, any of those. It's got to be a GSM carrier. So you should get LTE depending on where you live. Now, I looked up the bands myself, and it does have band 2 and 4 from what I looked up. On GearBest, it doesn't show that. This particular model, the global version, does. So you do your own research. You don't have to take my word for it. The worst case is you buy it. You get LTE in some spots. You get LTE in not every spot. And you decide whether or not you want to keep it. Overall, the phone is fantastic. So you do your research. Don't just take my word for it. It's your man, Jay Will. This is a fantastic purchase so far. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.